So today we want to cover serverless and what is it and why we have it. And yeah, so Ricardo, what do you know about serverless?
Well, serverless are now services actually that take care of the whole backend stuff. So basically, if you know how to structure your data in that environment and works with JavaScript APIs to get on it, all you need is JavaScript to do the front end, and that platform as a service will actually take care of the whole need of the backend.
Yep, exactly. So the whole idea for serverless is that if you don't have any skills to build servers or you don't have tech people who can build backend for you, you just can use some additional clouds, and you probably heard about AWS or Google Clouds or Azure, and yeah, they will handle backend for you. So yeah, we will talk about actually a few benefits. So the first benefit is that you basically can deliver your product quickly, right? This is very important for startups, and that is why serverless became so popular. Because for startups, they are focused on the product, and they need to get to the market very quickly. They don't have time to build the whole infrastructure, so they just use serverless. Sorry. And yeah, so reduce complexity of the software. That means it's for you as a team of developers, you will have less code, and you basically don't have a backend on your side that will be handled again by services. Simplifies packaging and deployment. Yeah, again, so you have just your front end stuff, and you don't need to think about how to bundle and about the architecture of the full stack application. It's just front end. So lower operational and development cost. It's kind of because when you start, definitely cheaper to use serverless because you don't need to build the whole server from the scratch for some simple tasks. If you want to build an MVP and you just working on the product, you don't need to build whole infrastructure by your servers like hardware, build all logic, hire a team of backend developers and do all of that stuff. You don't need to do that. That is why it's much cheaper just to use cloud. And by the way, just if anyone interested in serverless for startups, a lot of companies, they provide you free, like let's say some money for the account. And for example, Google, they gave us 100K for Google Cloud for the first year because we are a startup. So yeah, basically you can try to figure different programs for you from different providers. Scalability, this is actually a tricky one. I mean, it's obvious, but you're very flexible with traffic handling. That means it's again, imagine that you live in good old days, and you have, for example, you build in a website, and you bought some one server, and that server can handle like, I don't know, 1,000 calls per second, right? So 1,000 users can use your server in the same time, basically hit your server. But if you, for some reason, your product became very popular, or you got, I don't know, you organized an event and you had a huge traffic, it will just crash the server and your application is dead, right? So to handle more traffic, you need to buy more servers, and this is very inflexible. You can lose the whole idea, basically the whole hype on your product, and lose a lot of money. That is why scalability is very easy with serverless, because you basically, if you have more traffic, it will expand straight away, very quickly, like immediately. And if you get less traffic, it will shrink all your servers to something small. And most of the services, they charging you for actual traffic or for amount of calls, etc. So you don't need to think about the backend and how to manage all this traffic, because it will scale up or scale down automatically based on the traffic. So serverless is managed by cloud provider. Your servers are small, and so basically you keep them in the cloud. So you basically you can create servers dynamically. You can write, like, I need 2 more servers. You can hard code it. You can set in your configuration. Not really. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so basically you can grow and shrink very easily. So Atlas for MongoDB is just a database. It's not a serverless. It's just a database. So it's not an infrastructure. Serverless is about infrastructure for you. So you don't need to basically you're just doing basic configuration, and you can have like everything you need for the server. So you can reach your you can reach your data, and you can write some functions. You don't need to do the whole setup for the backend, but you can just, for example, in Google Clouds, we'll get there, but you can just write your functions and deploy those specific functions that will handle specific queries. And you don't need to think about whole infrastructure, just specific function. So that will be that. For example, if I get you've connected some external API, and if you get some data from that API, you want to trigger some function, and that will do something for you, or that can just redirect. For example, you have a form from MailChimp, you connected MailChimp API, and when somebody will fill the form, it will just trigger the action on MailChimp API. It will send to your function in the server, in the Google Clouds, for example, or AWS, that will just take this data and store it to the database. So again, you don't need to build whole infrastructure, it's just a tiny function that will take the data, store to database. Fits with microservices because you can have a lot of projects, and you don't need to build environments for each microservice, for each service. You can have just separate projects and manage them separately as individual projects, which is very easy to do because you just create in separate projects. And we'll get to the UI in a second. So we have 3 providers. I would say the most popular. We have hundreds of them, different companies fighting for the clients on the market, but the main are Google Clouds, AWS, and Azure. So I left links for each if you're interested, so you can check what do they allow you to do and their pricing models, etc. Google Clouds, for example, they, besides just a serverless, they provide you functions for AI and data machine learning analytics and building data models. So basically connecting their API to your project, providing data, and they will just do modeling and calculations basically for you. So they are pretty powerful, I would say. It's not just a server. So today we will want to talk specifically about Firebase, and I bet that Ricardo used that before. Did you?
Yeah, I've used it in the past. It's really cool. Now the coolest thing is gonna be now hook it up with JavaScript.
Yeah. So Firebase is just it's kind of it's a database, and basically it's a lot of things. Let's say. So here you can have basically they have the whole stuff, everything that you can have from Firebase. It's cloud Firestore, so you have like a database, real-time database, Firebase with machine learning, cloud functions, authentication, hosting, cloud storage, real-time database, and many more. So you can basically, again, all these services, you just write in, you just configure, you write configuration or create configurations from the UI. You don't need to build all servers to manage all of that, like A/B testing, etc. You just plugging, configuring, and this is it. So it's very easy to have very complex infrastructure without writing any code, or just a little of code. So yeah, let me just open Firebase and let's go to console. Sorry. So yeah, basically you can just create a project. It's very easy. Let me actually check out to the other email. Ooh, we have Burger Builder. Some very, very old projects. Woohoo! I was thinking why I have some emails from Firebase that will close or delete my projects, and this is because I have some very, very old stuff. So yeah, let me just go back to, let's create a project actually. So all you need to, if you want to create a project, you just click add a new project, then I don't know, my serverless project. Yeah, and that will create that kind of project. So you can, again, you can set up like A/B testing, predicting user behavior, etc. And just continue. Garnery. Oh yeah, this is very, very old project. And that is creating project for you. We will use it. I'm just thinking because I might need to do the configuration. Yeah, we'll see. Oh my gosh. Coffee. Okay, yeah, so we just created a project, and here you have a menu with all the configuration. So authentication, you can do a setup for authentication, cloud Firestore, real-time database. So we don't have anything, but we can create all of that. Hosting, by the way, if you want to create just a simple website, you can do that with free hosting. So why I'm saying free? So technically it's not free, but they will start charge you when you reach, I think, like more than 10,000 visits per month or something. So technically for business, for small businesses that are starting their, let's say, journey, and you don't have a huge traffic, that means it's more than enough to have hosting here, and that will be free for you. So yeah, you can just connect you can buy a domain and connect this domain here, and this is it. And here you can write Google functions. So you can connect, yeah, so I need to change billing to Blaze, pay as you go. And you can connect like Git repository and deploy stuff. Just don't tell me that it will start asking about credentials. It might. Yeah, exactly. Nah, okay, fair enough. Let me actually go to maybe other account. Let me just close this one. And we might go to Coders in Hoods, because there I did a setup. Administration. Yeah, let me just again serverless lesson. account Firebase. So yeah, we'll write some examples in a few moments. So because of this powerful stuff, and as you definitely heard that how popular is every single service like Google Cloud or AWS, does it mean that this is the end of the backenders era? So no, we have a few reasons, but you still sometimes, for big corporations, for them it's easier to have to manage their, and much cheaper to own their own infrastructure because they are huge and they have huge traffic load. So for them, for them it's cheaper to run their own team, to have their own servers, and manage everything on their side. And that might be because of the some security reasons, etc. But yeah, so basically it's definitely not, because even to write functions for Google Clouds, for example, you need to know Node.js, because you can write only Node functions for Google Clouds. AWS allows you to use different languages, Java, Python, Node.js, PHP, I think, etc. But Google, for example, just Node, and this is it. And to be honest, I think this is a reason why recently Node.js became suddenly very popular, because Google forced everyone to use Node.js, and because Google Clouds is popular service, people start learning Node.js. I don't know, is it? Sorry.
Yeah, it's probably on his end, because you're not breaking at all. I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, Thomas. Sorry. Yeah, so basically Google forcing people to use Node.js, and that is why Node.js becomes very popular. And I found interesting that for some reason companies paying more for Node.js developers rather than PHP developers. And this is funny because in the end of the day, this is the same stuff. So yeah. Anyway, this is what we have. So yeah, let's actually go to the setup, because I want to show you some examples. So yeah, here I have some basic configuration. Let me just initialize npm init -y, and I want to have first of all, I want to install Firebase tools. I can initialize a project, and you can define everything. So yeah, let's do that. Let's initialize local. Ooh. All right. Sudo. I think I have the latest, but maybe not. Depends how often they are updating. Come on. Almost. Yeah, great. So now Firebase init, and let's call the project somehow. Serverless lesson. So you're initializing the project. So use existing project. Let's use existing project. And we have, as you can see, serverless lesson. This is the one that I've created here, right? So that is why we have it in my list, because I've connected to my account. Is not a valid feature, but database firestore function. Oh, right, sorry. Oh my goodness, sorry. Yeah, project types, you need to define what type of project you want to have. And that can be database, Firestore, functions, hosting storage, or emulators. And for us, we can do functions or Firestore. So because this is what we have here, right? This is asking about this stuff. So let's actually, let me think. Yeah, let's stick with functions. To initialize project, and we have functions. Why it's complaining? Let me check. Create a new existing. It's not a valid feature. You must. Oh right, I think that theoretically that might ask me to create one here just to initialize. Yeah, right. Give me a second. Come on, get started. Init. Yeah, so Firebase init, Firebase deploy. Perfect. So let's see. Oh my, what's going on? Serverless. Oh, it's complaining. Right. So let's see, function, use existing, this one, yeah, perfect. JavaScript, slint, yes. Do you want to install dependencies? Yes. So it will write all dependencies, and you will get a folder with everything related to this project, to functions from Firebase. So let me just check. So the next step for us, we want to have to import Firebase functions, and we will set up some Express server. Sorry. Okay, so let me just create inside my functions here. So we have functions, right? And just a default thing, we can uncomment to see that it is working. This is HTTP one, HTTPS technically. And to run locally without deploying, you just need to run this one, this command. So if I run it here, we will get the URL for my localhost, and we have hello from Firebase, right? So this is our setup, but I want to use Express because Express is much nicer. Express equals require Express, so we need to install Express first, right? npm install Express, and then we want to have let me just comment it out. So here we have an instructions that you want to initialize your Express app, then you create your endpoint, and then you export in your application as an application, and wrap in this, you pass in your server as a parameter to on request to the Google Functions. So basically that means that Google Functions will know all your endpoints that you want to create. So here I want to do app express app get get. We want to have this one, and response dot send, and we want to have, I don't know, h1 hello. Yep, save. And now we just need to connect, as I said, just to connect, export and connect it to functions. Exports app functions dot. Here, by the way, you're getting all suggestions that comes with functions, so you can check actually what you have, what kind of methods are available for you. And for us, we are looking for HTTPS. Then we're looking on requests, right? So, and we're exporting app, something like that. So let's try rerun our server. My goodness, what's going on?
What is line 10 doing in there?
Which one? Line 10. So you connect, you basically taking whole your Express application and connecting to Google Functions. So Google Functions will basically recognize all the endpoints, etc., and do whatever you want.
Okay, so that function, HTTPS, comes from Firebase.
Yeah. So from here.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
Yeah. So now if I refresh, oh, wait a sec, I might get a new. Yeah. So now you can see that we're getting our hello, right? So we have, gosh. Yeah, so we're serving with hello. We've connected our server to the end. We've connected our server to Google Functions, and we can.
You still say it's localhost, no?
Yeah, but we'll run it locally. I will show you in a sec how to deploy it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So as we did the initial setup, Firebase, by the way, has a configuration you need to configure. I remember that I might have the we had the issue, I think, with configuration, and you might have the same issue. That if you go to default configuration, Firebase JSON, and you want to rewrite, where's the configuration? Sorry, I'm just looking.
Is that file, Firebase JSON, created when you install the Firebase functions?
Yeah. So when you initialize in Firebase environment, you will get Firebase JSON. So you will have it. In our case, we want to have hosting. I don't remember the exact syntax, but then we have rewrites. And there we will have source and function. Oh my gosh. And function. That will be app. Something like that. So this is the configuration that you need to have to serve your application. So let's actually try to deploy that to the server. So we have that locally. Stop Firebase. So you can see here, by the way, if you go to package.json, let me just check this here in package.json. You will have deploy, right? So you have start and deploy. That means that I need to navigate to functions inside and run npm, sorry, not npm. Oh yeah, npm run deploy. Yeah, because functions has own package.json. It's not on the top level, it's on inside the functions. So if I start running npm run deploy, it is deploying to the cloud. Let's wait.
They managed to make the terminal look good.
Sorry?
No, I said Google managed to make the terminal look good.
Oh yeah. Okay. Got it. It's complaining about the flag. Come on. Almost done.
So what you typically have is, for example, a database would be with a MongoDB or MySQL, but then your server would be with Firebase.
So Firebase also have object-oriented database. So you technically can have everything in one place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think JavaScript could be comparable with Mongo. It's just that you are using a different backend in the sense that, like Vasil mentioned at the beginning, like the whole Firebase belongs to the Google infrastructure. But generally, it's compatible in the sense that is the backend that is going to host the data for your application, right?
Yeah. So you have, yeah. So you have, you're basically providing them, like putting on them responsibility to handle the backend. Okay, let me actually. So now we have the actual URL, right? So if you go to that URL, we have our hello, and if I send it to you, you should have our hello. Yeah. So we just deployed our backend, let's say, to the cloud. So as you can see, that yeah, you don't need to think about again. This is just you. Basically, what you will do is you will create a bunch of endpoints, simple endpoints that will handle some data like connections and sending and receiving data. But the whole infrastructure, you don't need to think about that. It will be the security and everything, and loading and scalability will be handled by Google. So all you need to think is, okay, I will create a few endpoints and map all the data where it should go, and this is it. And we have, yeah, and we have our hello here. Pretty easy. So if you go now to functions and refresh, we will have one function. It will show us that we have one function. Yeah, here. And it shows how much memory it takes, the region, so I can reconfigure that. If I click, I think let me check.
So we call it function, but what is it exactly? Is it just a or...
So we call it function. Yeah, sorry, we call it function because Google says that this is our Google functions. And that means that you're basically connecting your code, your application, to some internal handlers on Google Cloud. And they will take your application and will, as a container basically, and will treat respectively. But you basically take your application and put it into the box, and this is what we're actually doing here, right? So you take the whole application and wrapping that into the Google function as a parameter.
Okay, and that function is all your code for that website.
Yeah. Exactly. This is the backend. I mean the backend. No, this is backend. For front end, you have hosting.
Okay.
Sorry, we probably have some delay.
Sorry about that.
So front end is different thing. You will host it in hosting, where you put just a front end. The functions is just a backend. So you can initialize as hosting because here we have hosting and we haven't initialized it. This is for the front end.
Got it. Okay.
But functions is just for a backend, where you just create. I'm just for a test. I'm just sending some HTML, but obviously that will be just some data that you will map and send and receive. Or you can create a logic here, especially JWT is very popular with Firebase, because basically you can create an endpoint where you just that will generate your JWT and send it back, etc. So it's very easy to configure all of this stuff. So yeah, we have our basic endpoint. So as we did, again, just remember this command when you try to run it locally. So enabling cache is very, very easy. I just want to, so the first step is, yeah, let's send, let me send just date, time actually, date. Is it just date? Yeah, just date now. Okay, perfect. Because I want to show you that if you hit this endpoint, all right, I need to redeploy, right? Deploy only functions. So I'm just deploying again. Come on. Takes time, as you can see, because it's basically, yeah, it's just doing the whole setup for you. So you don't need to think about that, they just handle it for you. So let's wait for a second. Once it will finish, I just want to show you that how easy you can set the caching. So imagine, I will show you everything in a second. Just need to deploy. So here, I just want to go to network. And come on. For some reason, it's very slow today. Don't know why. Normally, it's faster.
Everybody's at home watching Netflix.
Right. Potentially, you're right. Okay, so we are done. So if I refresh, perfect. I'm wondering, is it because, give me a second. Let's run it locally. Wondering, maybe I just need to wrap it into, yeah, invalid status. Yes, so it takes as a status, so that should be a string. That's odd actually. .send. Yeah. So we have a timestamp, right? And if I refresh, I'm getting a new timestamp. And if you go to network, this is what I want to deploy. Yeah, we need to wait again. But the whole point is that every time you basically, when you reload the page, it will go to through the whole path of servers. So it will hit the local proxy server of your provider, then it will be redirected to another one, that it will go to the main one, that it will send the response back to you, and that you're basically going from one server to another. But let me actually draw something. Draw IO to show you the whole logic. Describe later. So you have a server with your data, right? Data server. We will have a client. Ooh. We have client. I just show you why serverless is that beneficial as well. And we have another, we have the proxy server. Proxy server. We have another proxy server. And maybe one more proxy server. So we'll have a few proxy servers. And we have a client. So our client, we have actually multiple clients, right? From different cities. Imagine that we have from different cities. And this is your website. Data server or website. Like this. So now, imagine that for different users in different cities, you have different proxy servers. Imagine that somebody client, I don't know, London, client Paris, and what is your city, Ricardo? Panama. Perfect. So we have proxy servers. Let's say provider proxy server. I just want to show you everything. So we have provider local proxy server. And we have same one for you, one basically one for each, right? So we have proxy servers. Then we have, let's say, I don't know, US Central. I will show you that you have such configuration. Netherlands, for example. And we have another proxy server, and we have the website. Yep. So now, when you want to, when you try to hit the proxy server to this website, you're just doing this, and let me just connect here, and then you're just hitting this server, right? And then you have another, you're hitting here. And actually that should be in two ways. Let me just check. should be like this. Here. So for us here, we will have something like just hitting here. Same I'm doing here. Right, I forgot to change it. Control B. And we hit in here. Then another one, we hit in the first common server. And this one. Because this is, for example, this is one server that we have in Europe. And we hit in this one and the main server where we get in data, right? So the first journey for us will be, I try to reach the website. I will hit my local server from my provider. Then I'll hit the server from the Netherlands. Then I hit some proxy server, whatever it is. And then I will hit the main server where we actually have our files and get back data to the very beginning, right? It takes time. So it's very inefficient. Every time you want to hit the website, it will take a while to go through the whole this system. And with the Firebase and Google configurations, when you can set caching, and Google will handle that in a smart way. So if we do tell our Google that we want to set cache, let me just check.
Please remind me what cache actually is.
Yeah, give a second. Let me just, oh, it's been deployed, right? I just want to make sure that, yeah, so now every time I'm hit the endpoint, I'm going through the whole journey, right? And you can see that it finished in 3 seconds and 20 or 190 milliseconds. If I refresh again, it's doing the same, right? Going through the whole journey to load everything. Now it's 3 seconds. So this is, I mean, it is very expensive because people need to wait. And caching will allow to cache specific data on the closest level, basically. It will basically, when you hit the end for the first time, you take all this data and that will store your data on the closest provider. So next time when you hit the same website, you will get data from here. It will not go there, right? And the same true for each client. So basically, if you have multiple clients in London, we will both hit the same endpoint. Oh, sorry. Sorry, not endpoint, the same server. So for example, if I will hit the website and have caching set up on the server, on the Firebase, it will send data back, store the version, this version here, and when the client, another user will try to hit the same website, it will not go through the whole tree, it will take data from here, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So yeah, and the same here. Basically, if I hit the endpoint here, and somebody from the Paris want to hit the same website, it will go here and get data from this server, because you will have the version here as well.
Is that what happens when a YouTube video is loading and you have a bit of kind of, I don't know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of video on your computer, but then you need to wait to get the rest?
No, so we have also local caching, and this is a different story. So you can actually cache as well on your laptop. So that will be in the browser cache. So this is different. This one is the server configuration. So it basically leaving data on the path, on their route back to the user. And that is why it becomes much faster for you to get data, because somebody hit this, they already visited this website. And you can imagine that when you're hitting, so this cookies, sorry, not cookies, this cache has expiration date. You can set when it should expire, because you basically, when you have the cache, that means that even if you updated the website, the user is still getting the old version, right? So this is, you don't want to just set cache it forever and never remove the version. So that is why we can set the time, the age basically, right? Where we have max age, how long the store in the user's browser. So you define how much it will sit in the user browser, and as max age, how long the store in the CDN's cache. So this is this servers, proxy servers, let's say, right? So this is how it behaves. And sorry, let me just quickly set the same stuff. So response dot. Is it set? Yeah, set content. What is that? Content, cache control, sorry. Cache is it control? Control. That might be lowercase. I don't remember the syntax. No, it's capitals actually. Okay. So cache control, then you have second parameter, which is a string, public, max age. So public max age in my browser, let's say, I don't know, 20 seconds, right? And S, what is the S max age? S max age should be, let's say, 600. So let's save. Again, we need to redeploy that to have on the server. And now, yeah.
Code is static, right? So when I look at, I'm on it, I need to refresh it anytime I want to see it move.
Yeah, so that is why we use timestamp. So you will see that we will get the old one. And the loading time will be much different, very different.
Okay. But it still will be static, right?
What do you mean by static?
I mean, I need to refresh like F5.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying, so we're caching is for that when I try to visit this website for the second time and my cache hasn't been expired, that will come from the closest CDN to you. It will not go to the very end where you.
So it will reduce from the 3 seconds to like 1 or 1.
Yeah, let's actually test it. It's still building. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and so that means that if I hit this endpoint, the website, sorry, get the response, that will store the version, the cached version here. And as I said, you will get the version from here. But once it will expire, but imagine that somebody will hit, like later, somebody will hit from Paris. So we will have another version here in the EU Netherlands CDN, right? So next time, if this will expire and this one not from this user, your client from London will hit this one. Here's no version of this website. It will go to the next one and will find here. So it's still shorter than goes to the very last one. Yep, cool, great. So now, if I refresh my page, I have new time and almost 4 seconds of loading time, right? If I refresh it again, I have the old time and I have 3 seconds, which is odd because that should be even less. Refresh. Ooh, we still, yeah, 3 seconds. That's odd actually. What kind of, wait a second, preserve. Ooh, okay. So we're hitting some other stuff, service logging. But that call, I want to show you that specific call. Let me find it. Not this one. I'm just looking for 3,302. What's going on? Central across gzip. Interesting. Why we have just errors? Okay. So 200. Yeah, so now we're loading from the very beginning. If I reload straight away, we have 304. Let's check what is 304. Should be not modified, right? So that means that your data hasn't been modified. You still use the old data. The equivalent of 200, but if you use cache control, you have 304. Okay, so that is why we have this code, because we're not modifying the actual response. Let me actually find the specific response. I just want to find the call. Oh yeah, this one. Okay, fair enough. So here we should have time for this call.
I get a lot less on my side. I get 220 milliseconds.
Yeah, this is what I'm expecting. Let me check. Is it because of the Brave?
I'm on Brave as well.
So now it's 1 second. Yeah, I turned off the blocking, and now it's less. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, definitely. It's changing because Brave is trying to block everything. So yeah, as you can see, that difference is huge, and this is very important, right? Especially, so here we have just a simple saying, but imagine that you have a huge application that takes, the loading time takes like 20 seconds. And if you can reduce it to 8 seconds or 7 seconds, this is huge. So, and because if you have more users, right, that means that you will have always cached data on a local storage, on a CDN, the closest CDN, the proxy server. And that means that your app will be always fast for users from this region.
You don't have any sort of control in regards to the caching, right? All that is handled within the Google ecosystem.
Yeah, so basically you tell in Google that I want to have caching, and Google will recognize it and will do configuration for you. Yeah.
How will you troubleshoot?
Sorry?
If a client complains, for example, like, yeah, but I see a different result, for example.
Say again? Sorry, I missed.
No, sorry, continue, please.
Okay. Yeah. So so this is the whole point of the caching, and why people will do. And again, see that I'm not configuring the whole thing with caching. Like, I don't write a lot of code, because Google will do all that. That will handle for me. I'm just specifying a few things, and that will do it for me, because Google will recognize that stuff.
Okay, sorry. I just went away for a minute. My question is, for example, like if a client is complaining because we see different information, and that is probably due to the caching on Google. I'm assuming, and probably obviously that might just go beyond the scope of the course because it's going to be something specific for Firebase. But I'm assuming that going to Google, you should have some sort of configuration within their ecosystem where you can probably like clear cache or something, right?
So that is why you have expiration time. Yeah. Here.
Okay.
And that is why you don't want to go wild with this number. This is what I said, that because you know about releases, right? That you're not releasing new version every 2 seconds, right? Of your website, or like every day. You probably have released like every week,
Okay.
or every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Do they offer some sort of development environment? Because obviously during development, you are going to be dealing with cache issues, and if the client is remote, well, I guess this, like I said, I will understand if this question just goes beyond this because it's more related to the Google ecosystem. But yeah, they should have some sort of development environment where no cache is available, it's applied.
So for what case? So you're saying that a specific endpoint, let's say, or whatever website, the specific URL, I mean, for where you're not applying caching.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about having a client who sees something different to what I see in my screen, and that happens very frequently in web development. So I'm assuming the caching is in most cases the reason. So that's probably why.
So mostly this is happening because of the local cache. Because of the not local, when I say local cache, I mean the browser cache.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. But I'm more thinking like you might be using Firebase maybe for a mobile app. So yeah, don't worry about it. It's a different thing. It's beyond the JavaScript thing because it's more in the ecosystem of Google.
So again, for you have this issue, and you probably talking about this local caching, but eventually it's very specific some case, because you normally your development flow, you know the configurations that for example every 2 weeks I'm doing a new release, and that means that you want to configure your caching system for Google, for example. That's
exactly the point. That's in the Google thing.
Yeah, you're configuring this time to not 600 milliseconds, 600 seconds. I think it's seconds, and configuring just to different value that you want to clean cache every 2 weeks or every week.
Yeah, we're good. Let's keep going. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. So let's try to connect actual Firebase to our oh my gosh, to our app. So we need to install Firebase admin as well to make sure that we can use that on the project. So let me just npm install Firebase admin. Oh, so meanwhile I can just admin. I think we installed. So Firebase app, we want to have Firebase app. And that will be our just Firebase. How do we call it normally? Firebase, just Firebase. Okay, fair enough. Firebase, and here we'll have Firebase dot initialize app, and yeah, so we initializing the application and taking configuration from the Firebase from the functions. So initialize app function functions. HTTP, is it HTTP? Sorry, yeah, no, config Firebase. Okay, config Firebase. So yeah, we're basically specifying the application, and now we can actually get data from the database, right? So we can get have direct access to the database to get some data. And let's actually create a real-time database. And you can select where you want to keep. So it's in Belgium, let's say. So that might be faster. Again, it depends on where your user is normally located. You want to have the server for that. So let's set up. And yeah, so we want to have, my goodness. Let's say users value will be, I know. Sorry. Let's say I'm just thinking, how do I want to structure that? We have users, we have 0, for example, and here we will have first name Alex at something like that, right? Let's actually, so this is the URL to our Firebase application. And I think that we are ready to connect. Yeah, so basically you need to use the reference to the database. I don't remember. Let's try it. I don't remember, is it a cloud Firebase or just a real-time database, but I think that should be the same thing. So yeah, let's create a function. Get users. It will be a sync. And we want to have Firebase database ref. Firebase database ref, and that should be our values from here, I believe, as I remember. I might be wrong, but let's test it. So await, and then we want to do, let me just check that. Yeah, so here all this documentation, basically all of that comes from their documentation. I'll show you the links to that, but let's check. So we have return ref once value. So actually we want to have turn await ref once. This is a Google Firebase syntax, so it's not something like just users. And then we have what? Oh, value, sorry, value. And then we have then snapshot value. Yeah, then snapshot dot value. I think this is the right thing. So let me just try const await async, and now I just want to send my users back. Await. Yeah, so let me run it locally. I want to make sure that we are actually getting responses. We might have some errors. I'm kind of expecting that. Okay, so we have some errors. Great. It's not running, so call real-time data will affect production. Firebase space ref is not a function. All right, sorry. I think it should be Firebase app. Yep.
No, that sounds to me like it should be some sort of setup in the Firebase end, because
We'll
assuming you're accessing a database in production.
no, we didn't have declared Firebase. That is why it was the error. That was the first one. Yeah, so now we are not getting any errors, but we don't get any responses because I think that I'm selecting the wrong thing. So let me actually check. Yeah, okay. So now we have another errors, which is great. So beginning execution of app. Firebase app is not a function. Base ref. Real-time database emulator. It should run. Wait a second. I might need to run hosting and real-time database. Was it a flag? Let me actually check. Firebase base real-time. Sorry?
No, sorry, it was here.
Okay. Firebase real-time flag. So let's see what we have.
Is Firebase actually more used than MongoDB, or is it just...
No, it has own database. It's not Mongo.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like in the, I guess when you use this in the real world, is just Firebase used for small businesses, and then if you want to do something real, then you transfer to MongoDB or MySQL?
You can use still you can use all of them, right? You can use Google Clouds as a router, let's say, and hit the MongoDB from other service.
Oh, so it would be the MongoDB for the database and then the Firebase for the server, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Wait a second. I'm confused why. My goodness, why it's swiping? Export, import, show legend. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Rules. Let me just double check. Usage. Yeah, that should be fine. I'm wondering if that should be users. Give me a second. Where is this? Real-time emulator is not running. Let me check what's going on. Why it doesn't work. Right, if you deploy it, that will work probably, but not locally. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I think that it just we need to, if you want to emulate it locally, you just need to do just install it in this package. So what do they say? Project was missing, file serverless MD, source, rewrite, hosting, ignore, Firestore, pre-deploy emulators. Yeah, okay, yeah, they asking for another emulator. That's another thing. And Firebase, emulator only functions Firestore. Yeah, I think this is it. And hosting. This Firebase emulator start. Okay. Firestore. What do they suggest? Show Facebook. Ah, my goodness. Where is this? Because if you deploy, let me actually just try to deploy. Meanwhile, we are looking for the solution for the local one. Okay, so it is working. What do we have? Try Firebase command help error stop in Firebase emulator. Yeah, then find Firestore rules. Right, so we need to configure Firestore rules as well. The one that we have here. And that should be rules. Right, do we have rules here now? Or no? No. Okay, fair enough. We need to create Firestore rules file. Right? And put Firestore rules inside from here, I believe. So if we save this one, close, and let's check what we have deployed. Okay. What about this one? Firestore rules. It's interesting. Okay. Let me check the one that we just deployed. This is odd. Your operation was forbidden. Interesting. So we are doing something wrong here. References. Why has been forbidden? Do we need to provide some credentials? Yeah, so blocked. Request time. Let's check the response. They might again change something in verifications. Google Play. It's always about playing with this stuff. Because that was definitely working because I did it before. So let me actually, without deploying, just call this function. console log. I just want to know if I log it, will I see the response? So no daemon. Functions. Is it in functions index. Let's see what we have. Warning, Firebase config and global project environment variables are missing. Ooh, okay. Firebase. Hosting. I remember that we had some problems with Firestore, but I don't remember why. What has changed? So Firebase app database. Oh my goodness. Is it because of this is a function? It might be it, right? So if I stop, refresh, maybe because this is a function, and that is why it's complaining. Yeah, potentially the spellings as usual. Let's see what we will have. Come on. The configuration is always tricky. I don't know why it's so painful. Every time you configure a new system, you have the same problems again and again. So the real-time is not running, so call real-time will affect production, that's fine. Firebase warning error, please ensure that you spell the name of your Firebase correctly. Right, Firebase, that might be. Wait a second. Why it's complaining about Firebase name if this is what we have, right? Let me check. Settings. Can you see any spell correctly? Yeah, I think that is the one. Serverless lesson 7 CDE 6. Yep. That was definitely spelled correctly. Why the hell is that it's throwing the error? Let me just remove the emulator if we will not run it locally. Let me refresh the page. Please ensure that you spell the name of your Firebase. What the heck? It is correct saying. Yeah, this is odd. Firebase. Wait a second. One more thing. CD function. I'm just thinking, can it be because Firebase admin? What's going on? So painful, so painful. So we have reference, we have Firebase, so we take from functions config Firebase, which is fine. This is what we have. Then initialize app, config, you're right. Database, ref. Yeah, and then value snapshot. So for some reason, it doesn't like the actual URL, which is odd. So see that we are getting.
It said you requested Node version 12 doesn't match with global version 14.
Sorry. Oh,
comparing your Node version 12
yeah.
versus global version 14.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't match your global, which is fine. It because I'm like I have Node 14 on my laptop, but they are using 12. This is like a warning. This is fine.
Oh, okay.
But why it's complaining about spelling if this is correct one? Which is odd. Let me check that, because this is actually correct. And immediately after restoring the project and you're trying to refresh and see if the project. Here's some. What? Please use your spelled name. It's pretty. Please replace. What's going on? Is it something in config? No. Function app. What's going on? What's going on? Engines. It's lean, Firebase function test, node, logs. I bet this is some silly thing. So it is serving on server. The problem might be that we're hitting this endpoint and that's looking for this endpoint. That might be the issue. Let me actually try. Firebase deploy. Yeah, that might be the. And you can see that we have local storage, and that is looking for HTTP. So that might be it. That might be the problem. That's we're not hitting. We're hitting the local. So yeah, let me just check that. That might be the answer. Again, like when you're doing the setup, you're always doing the setup like once and spending next few years on developing. And every time you're going back to the setup, it's like, what's going on? And yeah, so let's wait, see, and that should build a thing. Not local. Come on. So yeah, when you use Mongo, it's definitely easier for you because you're just hitting the, for example, Atlas to get data and you just don't care. But if you try to use the internal Cloud Firestore, you just need to authenticate you and hit the right point. Yeah, so real-time data here. Yeah, let me just, okay, it's deployed. Let me check this. Hosting. Let's check. Okay, init, next, continue. this one. Site not found. What? Serverless. I'm just thinking why my okay, so functions. Let's check. That is it blocking? Yeah, okay. So now it is working, right? So we use the correct URL and then it is working. We're getting the response. That was just a wrong URL. That is why we were getting error. So now with our values, we're getting from users, getting values, which is an array. So we're getting everything that we have in users. So now if I try to, let's say if I go to a real-time database and I will add another user with index 1 and value, let's say first name Vasil, save it and refresh this page. Now I have 2 users. Yep. So we're getting all this data from the database. Yeah, so the problem was just a URL, the local URL, because we're not doing the whole setup for local mocking server. But yeah, it should be easy. And if you're doing that with remote, with the actual server, with the actual Firebase, it is pretty simple. You have just 2 lines of code to get everything. And yeah, basically, if we try, so yeah, we just send in the users, right? So we can create like a users endpoint and send data back to the users or whatever. So again, for the setup locally, we definitely need to read documentation because it is tricky, and you just need to basically to check the documentation how to do a local setup. If you don't do that, you just need to deploy every time you're doing changes for the setup, basically.
So is the way to proceed to actually do the website locally until you're kind of sure you're happy with it, and then use Firebase and deploy it, or?
Yes.
It looks like it's actually difficult to test it if it doesn't run when you're actually doing it locally.
I mean, I think that they have this admin tool, they have the local setup for Firestore, and we can actually Google for that. Firestore emulator locally, or Firebase local with Firestore, something like that. So yeah, you definitely need to emulate. Let me just check. Not much other tools. Prototyping, run functions locally. So you're doing Fire tools, that's fine. Credentials, emulator start. Okay, so yeah, potentially you just need to do this setup to provide credentials, emulator start, setup functions, configuration. Yeah, I mean, again, this is more like admin stuff. You need to definitely go through it and read carefully how to do the setup for local environment to use Firebase. If you don't use Firebase, then or using Atlas for MongoDB, it's just easy. You don't need to do all of that. You're running that locally and working with your MongoDB. Connect your app to the Firestore emulator. Yeah, maybe. Oh, maybe this one as well. Just thinking. Yeah, I mean, we need to read about that because it's always the setup. Always, especially I found it for some reason Google has a lot of documentation and sometimes it's just not very clear how to work with it. So it just takes time to do the setup. basically as usual. Yeah. So here I have 3 links to set up, to get data, and how to save data in Firebase. So yeah, basically you can see how to work with Firebase and how to do this the setup for environment. Ooh, we actually can do the URL. We can specify the URL. I'm wondering if we can hard code it with our local host thing, but who knows? Yeah, so here you have a documentation how to do a setup. The next one is how to get data from Firebase. And you have different languages as well, right? And yeah, and the next one, how to actually put data programmatically to your database. Again, you have different languages. All we need is just Node.js. So yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So basically 3 pages that you can read, and basically to understand how to work with Firebase. Another one I found it very useful is Firebase Web Code Lab. So Google provides different code labs for different things and tools that they have. And here you can basically go through Code Lab to build a chat, because Google provides you a real-time database. So if you update a database on one side, it will automatically show up on the other side. So that will keep like a connection basically for you. And it is very easy to implement that. So if you store the record on the Firebase, it will automatically send it back to the other side. So it will synchronize with all the clients, which is very helpful. Again, they have like a 77 minutes code, the exercise code lab. And yeah, you can just play with it. You can see how to work. They have all the code examples, and you just follow what they're saying and you can practice. So yeah, AWS, we didn't talk, sorry. We didn't talk much about AWS. We didn't talk about AWS at all. But again, this is another tool. This is just an option that you can use. And I think it depends on the company, which service do they use. But yeah, it doesn't matter. You just need to play and understand how the whole thing is working on that side. And it doesn't matter which one you will use, AWS, Azure, or Google Clouds. Yeah, it just doesn't matter. You can deploy, we don't talk on this course, we don't talk about Docker, because this is the whole like environment. You can, like a virtual machine, let's say. It's not virtual machine, but just as a simple explanation, it's just kind of a virtual machine where you put everything, put the whole application in the environment that has all the setup. So it's very easy to run this, your code in the kind of mocked environment of the server. So you can deploy this kind of virtual machines in Docker to AWS or Google Clouds, but this is completely different topic. Yeah, I think that for now, it's enough for you to understand what is serverless, and we have some exercises with Firebase, so you can actually play and try to connect your code to the Firebase and get data, send data, etc. Any questions? No?
No. Looks like we're building up on the complexity.
Yeah,
I mean, I tried to follow it. It was quite tough to follow, but I guess it's all about syntax and getting used to a new framework.
Exactly. So this is basically just another library, JavaScript library, that you need to read documentation and see how you can use it. And this is it.
Yeah.
It's not. That is why basically we keep whole course with JavaScript. So it's everything JavaScript. You just need to read documentation for specific library and know how to use it. This is it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay then. Okay, cool. So let me check. What do we have? I don't remember what do we have for Wednesday. Let me just check that. The internet is not very fast. So for okay, we will have WebSockets. Yeah. So WebSockets is interesting. I don't know. Probably Ricardo, you haven't worked with WebSockets, right?
Not really. That's what I was asking in previous lesson. It's basically like a real-time access to APIs, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, WebSockets, you'll talk about that on Wednesday, but WebSockets is basically that's what if anything change on any site, let's say you have 10 clients and the server, and if anything change on any site, it will instantly update for everyone. So you don't need to send any extra requests to get this data. It's just constantly listening for any change.
What are we doing next week?
React party.
Do we start? Oh, okay. So we're starting on Monday with React?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we are starting with React. So on Monday we will talk about basics, about other frameworks, but yeah, starting with React.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, I know that you have hard deadline for React. Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for today. I'll deploy the exercises now and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.